Hi, we're back to our beginner quilting series with Primitive Quilting Projects magazine, and this is Kristen and Leah back for another fun-filled day. Just like the Grammy Awards, we've all had a wardrobe change, so we're back and ready to go. Last lesson, we started out with basics of using a rotary cutter and your ruler, and so I thought we would jump right in today, cutting into our fat quarters. And I want to show you, before we start cutting, a little bit about planning out what you're going to be cutting. In the materials list for this quilt, she's having us take a fat quarter and cut a whole bunch of different things out of it. So you don't want to just start cutting, and whacking it all apart. You might end up with not enough fabric if you don't plan it out and make sure that you're going to get everything you need out of your one piece of fabric. So here I did a little drawing. This is something that I like to do, and it doesn't really have to be to scale, a little bit so that you can make sure you're going to have enough room. Just have your calculator handy. So in this case, we're going to start out by cutting lengthwise on your fat quarter. You're going to cut a 5.5 inch strip. And out of that 5.5 inch strip, you're going to get two 5.5 inch squares, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1 3/4 inch strips. And then you're going to cut another 5.5 inch strip, and you'll get the remaining 1 3/4 strips. And then out of the rest of it, you're going to get your 8 2.5 inch squares. And then you have 2 strips out of every fat quarter will be reserved for the binding and such. So that's just an idea for any quilt you're going to do. Make sure that if you have a small fat quarter, fat eighth, whatever they tell you, and you have to get many different pieces out of it, do yourself a favor and make a little diagram. Just make sure you have it all spaced out correctly before you start cutting into your fabric. The background, the sashing for this particular quilt, it was from a yardage. She said to buy a certain amount of yards. So in that case, you're going to visualize it as laying out your fabric, selvages at the bottom, fold at the top. And in this particular quilt, she does go right through the instructions. She says cut a 1 3/4 inch strip with the fabric, and then subcut it into your pieces. So in this case, the yardage, it's not as important to plan it out. So it's just if you have a very specific amount of the piece of fabric you need to get a bunch from. Okay, so that's my little instruction on planning. So let's start by, let's take 2 fat quarters. That's your new cutters. And once you get the hang of it, you can stack more than 2 at a time. But I want you to get used to using the tool before you start stacking too many. For this, you're going to be laying your fat quarters long ways, facing away from you. So Kristen's going to take off the selvages of her fabric so she doesn't have those funny little openings and things there. So you want your straight edge, your all matched up edge, to be down by your stomach. So swing your fabric, because like in my diagram, you're going to cut this way, the long way. Now after you get your flat edge, your straight edge to you, check out your side that you're going to be cutting from. And if that needs matched up, straightened up, then you'll cut off the edge of yours too. So you're just going to line up your, take a straight line on your ruler and line it up with the straight edge of your fabric or the straight edge of your cutting board. Whatever you feel more comfortable with, that is perfectly straight. Oh, it wasn't straight?
It was very uneven.
Oh, yeah, it sure was. Okay, well, yeah, makes sense. Hold that. See, these are the selvages, so they are going to be correct, usually. So I would make them straight, just like that. You may have to take off a little more fabric. See what I mean?
Down here?
Yeah, or on this side.
Oh.
Yeah, just the very littlest. You want this to be even, yeah. An important point, you don't want to really measure with your mat. Use it more as a guideline. You want to always be measuring with your rulers. Okay, so your first cut is going to be at 5.5 inches, and then make your cut. And then there'll be 2 strips, 2¼ inch strips off the last little part. And probably break away until we start subcutting or until we sit down to sew. Thanks.